Welcome back to askreddit Discover channel. What is the scariest thing you have seen ever? My dad and grandma waiting for me at the top of our driveway when I got off the bus coming home from kindergarten. My mother had breast cancer, and the moment I saw them waiting there together, I knew she was dead. We had a long driveway to begin with, but that day it felt like it took an eternity to climb. I knew what they were going to say, but I still dreaded hearing it. I've never felt that kind of terror since. With my mom it was lymphatic cancer. I came home for lunch, school was only a block away, and I remember Nana scrubbing something in the kitchen. "Your father's in his room. He wants to talk with you," was all she said. Home in the middle of the day? By the time I reached the end of the hall, I knew what it was. I'm sorry to hear this. I had the same experience when I was in first grade. I recognized my uncle's cars parked out front while my sister and I were walking home. My dad was diagnosed with lung cancer the summer before, and this was in December, right before Christmas. When we opened the door, my mom grabbed us and I could see my uncle's feet all in the living room but not their faces. I started crying immediately, as did my sister, because we knew before my mom could tell us. What a shitty, unforgettable day that was. I hope you've healed since then. These things seem to create a definite point in our history and everything that's happened to me since I remember. It's a shitty club to be in. It's been 44 years since that day and I see it like it was yesterday. I'm so sorry you lost your mom that young. I miss mine every day, also lost her to cancer. My brother losing consciousness and falling down the stairs. He lay on the floor with his eyes open and blood coming out of his ear. He was fine after one day at the hospital, but I sure as hell thought I just witnessed the death of my brother. Oh my. Dude, the open eye part makes it so much more terrifying, or horrifying. I never know when to choose which one. This happened just this past weekend. Came home to find my brother blacked out, and when he came to, he could barely stand, walk, was in an altered mental state, talking like he was drunk. He hadn't eaten or drank anything but water in 3 days and had been sleeping pretty much around the clock. Turns out he's diabetic now and was experiencing diabetic ketoacidosis. Spent the weekend in the ICU. He blacked out because he was so dehydrated that his heart couldn't properly pump blood and his blood pressure was bottoming out while his heart rate was skyrocketing. His blood glucose was sky high. He's doing better now, thankfully. But I thought I was watching my big brother, my best friend, die right in front of me at the time. I was in your brother's place when I was 4. My mom says she took me to my pediatrician, who took one look at me and told my mom to leave and take me to the ER right away. I'm so sorry. I've been in DKA many times, and though I was very ill, the worst part is seeing your loved ones scared that you're dying and unable to comfort them because you can't function properly. Obviously I survived, but it has scarred me and my loved ones. I hope you and your brother are doing well now. Finding this young dude after he'd been stabbed like 7 times and trying to comfort him. I knew the guy was going to die, and I think he did too. About a year of sleepless nights and a moderate case of PTSD later, for come to terms with what happened. I watched a girl get hit by a car and stopped to help. The panic I had when the guy who got there first said there was no pulse. Lucky in that case he just didn't know how to take a pulse. But 18 months later and I still wonder how she's doing. It's like the old Chinese/Buddhist proverb, if you save a life, you're responsible for it. Only I can see how you'd still feel it even if you couldn't do anything. That's horrendous. Without knowing either of you, I'm so glad that guy had someone there for him. I survived a plane crash. It was far and away the scariest thing I've ever witnessed. Second behind that was watching a van full of people wrap around a bridge underpass pillar. The driver fell asleep behind the wheel. 6 of the 7 people died. The 7th person was laying in the back seat sleeping and avoided being crushed. Strangely enough, about 5 years after that accident, I was in basic for the army and met a girl that lived a few hours north of me. She knew the people who were killed and their funerals were in her high school gym. It's a small world, folks. Life is so fleeting. The Black Saturday bushfires. We were in a small town where my grandmother lived, helping her pack up to get to safety. The fire was moving so fast we had maybe 1 minute to move if they sounded the warning to leave. Watching the horizon change color from black to a dark orange to a full wall of flames in a matter of minutes is fecking intense. The trees exploded from the intensity of the heat, making these dull popping sounds amongst what sounded like rain from ash and embers falling everywhere. It's worth noting that the town is nestled amongst a bunch of hills in dense bushland with treacherous terrain, and we were almost completely surrounded. Every hill glowed for hours. For everyone like me, living in totally different areas of the world and never having to experience a wildfire. Video showing a street going from slightly gray skies to hell in 90 seconds. No. I've driven up those hills for work on a weekly basis a few years ago and heard stories of Black Saturday from people who got out and have seen charred forest. I cannot imagine trying get of the area via those roads in an inferno. Seems like it would be a literal hell on earth.